All right.
All right, all right. Welcome to TRIAD Radio.
Yeah, it's great to be here.
I'm
Post draft, post night one radio.
gonna tweet the link out and get everybody in here that wants to be in here. So we'll just chill out here and shoot the breeze.
Perfecto. Sounds good to me.
Bobby, did you make it to radio?
Okay.
Maybe not. Is he still muted?
Who, Bobby?
Yo,
No, he's not muted.
yo. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
What's up, man?
Yeah, we can hear
All
you.
right,
Can you hear us?
Okay, for sure.
Everyone can hear everyone.
Nice.
Just waiting to see who jumps in here on the radio broadcast.
Yep. All right. I'm there. We've got two watching now. I had to mute it because you ever go to listen to the live show and you forget to mute it and you're talking and then you hear the playback from 5 seconds ago on the show in your earphones?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that was happening to me. It always throws me like I'm in some sort of alternate dimension or something, like an out-of-body experience. All right.
Well,
let's I mean,
let's do it. There's always a playback if they don't want to. If they're not able to come live, then that's fine.
that's right.
We'll get going. So, welcome to the. I guess this might be the second official Triad Radio when you consider the draft that we did.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
How's everybody been doing?
Well, I've been good. It's been busy. It's been a lot busier now than it was during the draft. A lot just busy life. I feel like I've got 4 jobs. It's it's wild, but yeah, good. It's good to be busy. Better be busy than not. So
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, I've been kind of busy. I mean, it's summer and I don't really necessarily have to do anything, but I've just kind of been here, there, and everywhere. It seems like so.
yeah, you've been traveling a lot.
Yeah. We went on a cruise and we came back from the cruise and we visited some friends and then we've just been kind of here, there, and everywhere. Getting ready to go visit my dad.
Oh, cool.
So we've taken the trek down to Florida for that. So.
Mm-hmm. And you survived the in-laws apparently.
Oh yeah. The Thanksgiving fiasco. Yes.
Oh, Thanksgiving? Oh, wow.
Or not Thanksgiving. I said Thanksgiving. It's basically the same as the same people as Thanksgiving. We always
Gotcha.
end up going over there and sitting there for an hour and a half eating some really not so good food and then finally getting away. We don't all have
5.
Bobby cooking his prime rib feast.
A prime rib or his Korean beef or barbecue?
Yeah, for sure.
Hey, man, don't be racist.
And I'm never racist on a Tuesday, so. How you been, Bobby? What's going on over there in the land of San Francisco?
But I've been good, but just been getting over being sick. So
Really?
it wasn't fun.
What'd you have? Like COVID or the flu?
No, it wasn't. I mean, it was like a cough going around.
Oh, okay. Just something small, like yeah, cool. Well, I'm glad you're better. Did you get it from one of those homeless people?
I was doing drugs in a subway when I was talking into the void.
Talking into the void, yeah.
That's a habit.
Well, you know what that That's just a double whammy. That's an ultimate, or that's the ultimate L right there, man.
All right, well, let's get this thing going.
All
What do you
right.
guys think? You want to get started
Yeah,
talking about some triad stuff?
absolutely. We got the Discord's picking up. We've got 5 or 6 people listening right now. 7 watching now. So yeah,
Ooh,
people, we got some eyes and ears. So let's do it.
sweet. So let's go ahead and talk about last week. Will, you want to kind of kick us off a little bit talking about the show? You were the mastermind behind that one.
Sure. All right. Well, we had night 1 of the trials 1 week ago today, and it was fun to write. It was the first show I've written since, what was it, early March, and I missed it. I talked to some Fed heads, and they always say they hate match writing, and I get it. Match writing takes its toll. It gets pretty laborious after a while, but I do enjoy it to an extent. It is fun to read about the characters, read the role plays, and figure out storylines that will go on within the match. And there's something about writing a match to me that's fun. It's like a story, and it's an action packed story and whatnot. But it was great to write them, and there were 12 really well thought out, fleshed out, well written characters. And it was the biggest problem I had with the matches, and a couple of people came out and said this, was the sameness between all 4 of them. And I realized that after I was typing the second match. See, I started with the opener, Vodka, Kane, and Raven. And then I moved on to, I think it was Wolf. No, it was Knox, Helena, and Stratford. And when I'm writing the second match, I have Stratford go out for a while. And I'm thinking, man, I just did this in that other match with Vodka. I was like, shit. And so you had to kind of, at that point, I was thinking, all right, I've got to try to figure out different ways to write these matches so it isn't one person goes out, 2 people fight. That person comes back in, person goes out, 2 people fight. And what I'm trying to do now for night 2 is I pick these different locations in the hopes that that will help eliminate some of that. So each match has its own unique feel, and it isn't just sort of the same formula with just 3 different wrestlers involved. I tried to create some feuds in the matches. In the first match, I tried to enhance the ongoing rivalry that Kane and Raven have by Kane costing Raven and allowing Vodka to win. In the second match, which I felt really proud about that match when it was done. I know it bothered some, but that match to me was about establishing Stratford as a super evil character, and putting Knox over as, yeah, he's you don't really know with Knox. Like, he loves his kids, but at the same time he loves winning. So there's that sort of gray area there at the end of it. And then Helena was the ultimate hero in the face that, despite everything that happened that they perceived to be happening, still sacrificed themselves to save their dad from Stratford, which I thought just gave all 3 of them just an immense amount to work with. And I really enjoyed writing that one. And then the third one, I really wanted to put over Wolf as this super aggressive, almost feral, violent individual. Cortez as this flippy, energetic, happy, athletic character. And then America is just basically, in my mind, he was like a masked Kurt Angle. But that was fun to write too. And in that match, you had America preventing who was it? Cortez from tapping out, so that but watching her get tortured, and then it flipped. Cortez did the same to America, and then ended up pinning him. So you got some stories there. And then I think Wolf attacked him after the match, so you got all kinds of stuff going on. And then in the main event, you had the Vices, which the Miami Vice match was Pick's idea. And going into it, I didn't know how I was going to work that. So I asked all 3 of the characters what their vices were, and Thad was like, women. Let's do Brooke Blakely. I thought, cool, yeah, she enlisted. That'll work. And I went to Penelope, and she's like, my soul. And I was like, oh, wow, that's pretty deep. All right, soul, women, Brooke Blakely. All right, LCP, what's yours? Weed. I was like, oh, okay, cool. And so I thought that'll be fun. And yeah, I just sort of incorporated it and had them each deal with their vice, and the vices get closer to the ring and be more of a presence. And then the soul gets in Penelope's way, the weed gets in LCP's way, and Thad is able to withstand his vice and come out victorious. And and it put over Penelope as this unstoppable force with her soul intact. LCP as this wild man that just throws his body around, and Thad is Thad. I mean, we all know Thad. So that was basically the idea behind it. I wanted the matches to stay around 4K, because I always want to be careful not to do too much, because then you feel like you have to duplicate or go beyond that on the next show. But they wound up being like between 6 and 7K, just because the entrances and all the hype and hysteria around them. By the time I was done with the entrances, we were already at almost 2,000 words on each match. So, so the pressure will be to keep them at that length on the next one. But yeah, I enjoyed it. It was good, and I hope and the feedback was positive. Everybody enjoyed the way they were portrayed, which is always key for me. Going into this, there was maybe 1 or 2 characters I was comfortable writing, and there were 10 that I really hoped I could nail and do them justice. And I have not heard anything negative from anybody in the way that they were portrayed. Well, almost everybody. So that's good. That's my main goal. Is I want people to feel like what they put in, their characters, their writing, and their character, and everything they've put into what they've done is being given their due justice in the results. So anyway, I could keep talking, but I think I've said pretty much all that needs to be said. So that's
Yeah, and the thing, if I can just add a little bit, like one of the things that I've always appreciated as far as your match writing was, you're always looking to give characters places to go. You give every person on the card an option to move forward with if they want to choose to take it. And I think that's maybe like the mark of a really strong Fed head is the ability to say, okay, well, this one show was really good, but what do we do after this show? We don't want to keep doing the same thing over and over, or we don't want to go into the next show, because this one we came in with 0 storylines. Everybody's going for the triad. Everybody wants to, take part in this, but that's basically it. And we come out of the show, and I mean, realistically, you're looking at, you got Stratford and Knox in a blood feud. You've got, like you said, the stuff with Penelope and her soul, Thad overcoming all those obstacles and the vices. LCP, just a madman, crazy guy. I mean, there's like so much to work with if they want to take it. And of course, hopefully they're having those side conversations and building their own storylines anyway. But I just appreciate there's always that option if we want to take those.
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, another thing that has popped in my mind for this event is on night 1, I thought, okay, well, the one thing I don't want to do is forget the overarching theme, which is the triad and the lore and all that, and just have it turn into just wrestling shows, because people didn't join just for wrestling shows. They joined for the chase and the story and the lore and all that. So on the first show, I thought, all right, well, we'll just do like a party, because when you're about to go on a trip, there's that, like the Titanic. Before they go on the Titanic, there's this celebration, and then they go, and then there's the adventure. So this one, I'm hoping, and the idea is to make it a little more serious, little less flamboyant or flippant or whatever you want to call it, and with each show, just getting deeper and deeper into sort of the danger and the madness of this adventure until the final. I've got some ideas for the final event that are going to be wild. So that's sort of the goal there. And there was something else, but yeah.
Awesome, Bobby. What do you think about all the matches, the first show in general? Your overall thoughts?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm definitely going to second pick what you were saying about. Yeah, I mean, the best thing about Will's writing is that, and I've experienced this, in all the years that I've been in OCW. But yeah, I mean, if he's going to make you lose, like he's going to give you something to work with, and I mean, makes the losses a little easier to deal with, in terms of like feeling down on your character or whatnot. So, but yeah, no, I mean, it's been a while since we've seen a show written by Will, so definitely Definitely
I
very
like
good.
I like how you said that when Will makes us lose. Like I caused the loss, man. Come on.
No. I mean, like I was talking about myself. So,
No, I know.
talking
Yeah.
about when I lose, 'cause there's a lot of losing.
Yeah, you do lose a lot. You're right.
He's used to it. He's a wounded warrior. So
If he just would proofread every now and then, he might win a match.
yeah.
Uh,
Oh my God.
he's
Every time you
great
mention
to
that, every time you mention that, I have to go back to his Great Illuminatus role play where I'm reading it and I'm like, wow, this is really good. He might win this match. And then all of a
Oh
sudden it was
man,
like it went from one scene to the next just without any explanation. Like an entire paragraph was just missing. And I was like, what the fuck just happened?
man, man, dude, I had to pick proofread that RP too, and I don't know, man. I was rushing it,
Yeah.
trying to
Yeah,
get
I
it
think it
up.
was the last second thing, right? It was the last second thing. You thought, well, I'm
Yeah,
going to throw this
yeah,
in as an alternate. Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
well,
So
he has me proofread things, and then he doesn't take my advice when I do it. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, no, but in all seriousness, like I'm just not trying to butter you up, Will. But yeah, I mean, I've been in feds where the results are subpar, man. So
Yeah. Yeah.
you know,
One thing somebody said when we were doing the live stream, which, well, I'm going to try to keep doing those, but it just depends on if I've got the thing ready in time or not. But somebody said, oh, the intro, running down the card, that's a lost art. And it is. I mean, I
mm,
love having an intro and then the announcer just kind of running down what's coming. I mean, it's just little things like that that I enjoy doing that I think, yeah, feds just forget about.
yeah, yeah. Well, something that is really awesome, and like and like it just feels great is like, like I remember, every once in a while, right, like in OCW where like we'd have this super show, right? That wasn't a pay-per-view, but it was a super show and like everybody was excited about it. It's like with like Triad, I feel like that's every week, just because of the handlers that are, just competing every week. So it's like every week, like, or not every week, but every other show. Like every show is just
Mhm.
like this massive show, and and like people are excited and it's real big, and I mean, I think it also puts pressure on, like the person, you know, writing the show to, sort of live up to that hype.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, there is pressure, and that's probably why the matches went about 6,500 words because I wanted to just make sure that it was impressive, for everybody involved. Because I mean, there was a lot of hype built into it. I mean, this thing was hyped up like crazy heading into that first show, and for me, it was like, okay, well, let's give them something worthy of the hype, and I did my best to do that. So.
well, I think too, we were all pretty, when we're in the Discord a lot with folks, and maybe they can't, necessarily gauge from our perspective, what our enthusiasm level is in terms of what we're hearing and what we're reading. But I mean, those role plays. I mean, first off, and of course, I think we kind of knew we would get this, but we had, they maxed out. So we had,
Mhm.
every single person in the Fed, 12 people, all, on time, and everything that was posted was like top notch. Like we, from the, right out of the gates, we had what would easily be pay per view quality RPs from 12 candidates, and it's like
Yeah,
when
definitely.
you read the talent level there, and I'm saying this maybe on your behalf, Will. I don't know for sure, but when you read
Mhm.
that, that's going to make you want to write something equal, if not better, just
Mhm.
so that you can honor what they did as far as the work.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Yeah, when you read that's the thing. It's sort of I don't know, like a symbiotic relationship to where when the handlers are giving you stuff to work with, that motivates you to turn around and write a really good match that they can then take from that to work with, and then you just give back and forth to each other. That's how the best feds work is when the staff is giving the handlers stuff to work with, and in turn the handlers are giving the staff stuff to work with, and that really creates the best shows. Um, just this past week, I have received at least a dozen ideas, spots, angles that handlers in Triad want me to put into the next show. And all that does is give me building blocks to build around and off of for the matches. It'll take me places that I never would have even thought to go previously. And that's what helps makes the shows feel less formulaic and more organic is when these handlers get involved because they've got ideas that I would just never come up with, and that helps me, produce these shows, and and it should help any Fed head.
Yeah, I would agree. I think me, I was out of the game. Most people know this, and I think a lot of people have the similar story that you're out of the game for 10, 11, 12, 13 years. But back in the early 2000s, I feel like for me at least, it was just do whatever the Fed head says. Like I didn't really have a lot of input. I mean, by choice, probably more than anything. But as far as what do I want my character to do, other than maybe I want to feud with this person or attack here or something like that. But there wasn't a lot of like sit down, let's talk this out with the owner and sort of come up with an idea long term for your character. And I feel like maybe if there's something that's more of a positive in this time frame that we're in, is that it seems like it's a lot more of a collaborative effort. That back then, if you wanted, like Bobby for example, if TLS was going to attack Pick, he wasn't going to tell me ahead of time. It was going to be a shock and awe type thing, and then it was all just sort of responsive, like just back and forth kind of stuff. And not that there's still not a place for that, but what I really enjoy is when you can work with someone who you are feuding with and you guys can sort of plan this thing out together, and then the quality of the product then increases dramatically. And I think we've got a lot of people who are so familiar with each other or maybe interested in working with others that they don't know. And I'm really excited to see what they can kind of come up with because I think the stories are going to be really good.
Mm-hmm. I'd agree 100%. Going back to one thing you just mentioned, I do, back in the old days, we would just sneak attack each other in the shows and you never knew it was coming. And I always kind of enjoyed that because the spontaneity of it would either piss me off or get me excited. But either way, I would be motivated to write. But I found, more and more these days, people don't like that. They don't like the sneak attacks and the things in the shows, and people do want to be given a heads up more, which is just all about adapting and evolving. It's as a Fed head, you have to be amenable. You have to work with the people you have, and you can't just say, oh no, we're doing it my way, and I don't care what you say. If you do that, then you're gonna have a Fed of like 5 people. Go look at some of these Feds out there that think they're awesome, but they have a roster that never changes because they don't listen to their roster and adapt. And I think that's one thing all three of us are very good at is we adapt to the people that are in our Fed. And we know that we're good at what we do, but we also know we don't have all the answers. And we're willing to work around things or add things into our strategy to create a better product.
Yeah, for sure. I would totally agree with that. So, so that's kind of talking about the show that we just had. You guys want to talk a little bit about grading?
Sure. I've been talking a lot, so whoever wants to take the lead on that, that way I don't get the heat. Y'all go for it.
So, Bobby, why don't you, and you don't have to go into detail specifically on individuals, but maybe just get us started on your thought process as far as when you sat down to read the 12 role plays that we were given. What were things that stood out to you? What were things you were looking for? Maybe even something, again, doesn't have to be specific, but something that you saw as a trend even that maybe some of the handlers could improve on if they so choose to do so.
Yeah, for sure. So something, like I look for, like I would say 60-40, 60 CD, 40 sort of like talk, talking about the match or talking about your opponent or talking about yourself and building yourself up. And then yeah, it's like I really look to see if the story that is written or the CD that is written is leading into something, or if this is just sort of like a one-off promo. If the single promo has like a sort of a beginning and an end and like some conflict and sort of stuff like that. So something that I noticed is I feel like a lot of the RPs didn't hit the 60-40 mark that I was looking for. Like I think there was a lot more CD than there was promo. There was also, I feel like there were some RPs that probably like, mention their opponent once. So yeah, but yeah, so
Yeah.
yeah. Well,
Just to kind of
go
maybe
ahead.
talk, from my end, because I kind of was the same way. It was kind of interesting when we sat down and discussed, because what we did as individuals, we all read the 12 role plays, and then we sort of broke it down by what the match was, graded them individually, and then we got together, the three of us, and started talking about it. And what we found was kind of a cool thing, I guess, is that with the exception of maybe 2 or 3 matches, we were pretty well, in line with a lot of the same
Mhm,
things that we're looking
mhm,
for. And so I think that's probably a good thing to discuss, because that gives the handler a sense of, I'm not writing this to appease one particular owner, but the other owner doesn't like that as much. And I think we're kind of all in that same vein. Of course, we come from the same tree of role playing, so to speak, when you go back to knowing each other since the early 2000s. But there's 15 points available for your role plays, and if you guys look on the OOC boards, I mean, you'll see everything kind of spelled out. But the things, we broke it down into 3 categories. We looked for the promo, we looked for the readability, we looked for the character development, and a lot of these matches were so close. You try to grade them all individually as far as each part. And then when you grade all the parts and then you add it all up, you realize that in some of these cases, the points are exactly the same. And then you've got to go back and figure out, well,
definitely.
what's the deciding factor, so to speak. And so one of the things, like Bobby mentioned, we talked about was what kind of promo was given, and was that promo actually focused on your opponent for the show, and if not the opponent, B, did it have anything to do with the triad in general? Because ultimately, not to toot our own horn, but we didn't create a regular Fed here. We didn't create OCW 2.0. We're not a normal wrestling event, so to speak. You signed up, or our handlers signed up for an experience where we've created a world in which there's this actual thing, the triad, that exists, and every single person wants to get their hand on it for one reason or another. And so your characters at some point have to reflect the thought process of, why do I actually want to be part of this Fed? Is it because it's new and exciting, or is it because I actually want to grab hold of this thing? Maybe it's, I hate this person and they were in it, so I wanted to come after them. Whatever your motives are, those are things we want to see in your characters, and that goes both to promo
Mhm,
and character development.
yeah, definitely.
I think a lot of that character development stuff, it's kind of a vague thought, because if my character is standing in a room and talking about themselves and their lives and maybe having some introspection, yes, that does give you insight into who the character is, but the character is actually not doing a whole lot. And so the
Hmm.
creativity level of the role play then begins to lack. And so that was kind of like a thing, at least for me, that I kept going back and forth on, was how creative is the character development, and how much does it relate to the promo and the triad in general? Will, What you have anything to add as far as that goes?
Yeah. Sure. One thing I was thinking while you guys were talking, not that I wasn't listening to you guys, but was this was the first role play for everybody in this Fed,
Yeah,
and
definitely.
you very rarely ever see that. So there's a sense of, okay, I kind of get what they want, but I'm not 100% sure. So a lot of, like, I think there were maybe a couple of role plays that to me hit on everything very strong. Whereas the other 10, while extremely well written, okay, this needs to be picked up a little, that needs to be, so on and so forth. So I'm expecting a huge jump in scores across the board for this next night, which is going to be both fantastic and terrifying. Um, but yeah, I think what you see is you see some people lean too heavy into one area and leave the other area a little light. Like there were some that were really promo heavy, but very light on story, and then there were some that were very story heavy. But after you read it, you're like, did they even talk about their match? And so you had to go back and reread. Oh, okay. And then there's the some are trying to utilize allegory and things like that. And I think and then you got America, who's just figuring his character out. I think, yeah, I think it was a lot of people just needed some course correction, some insight into, okay, we're looking for a little more of this. Okay, we're looking for a little more of that. And then also there were some who don't really operate in the 2K word limit, and they were chopping and chopping and chopping to get it down, and they were sacrificing maybe some of the stuff that would have put them over, out of fear of not having enough of this other stuff that they already had enough of, and they could have maybe trimmed some of that off, if that makes sense. But yeah, the writing quality across the board was tremendous. It's just now it's about, okay, here's what we thought you needed to do a little more of. Now let's see you do that and keep. That's important too. Keep what was good. Don't get rid of what was good to try to bring in what we told you needed more of. Keep what was good and add in a little more of what we told you were lacking, and then you'll have a product that will give you a better chance to succeed.
Yeah, I mean, there was one in particular, and I won't name names, but there was one promo that I was reading, and it was like, man, this thing is so well written, so put together. But I found it as I was reading. The more that I read, it was kind of like saying the same thing over and over. It was saying it in unique ways. It was saying it in very eloquent, high level, type writing ways. But you get into a situation where you take 600-700 words to describe a setting in a 2K role play. I mean, you're really, at the end of the day, you can write that setting as well as anyone can write it. But if you're only leaving yourself 1,300 words to really play with for the meat of what's happening, you're going to find yourself struggling, like you said, and trying to cut pieces here and there to try to make it work. And I think when it comes to that, not that we don't want to be descriptive, because we do, but there are certain areas I feel like maybe less is more, and you have to sort of figure out what that balance is. It happened to me in OCW when I came back. I was being very descriptive and finding myself in the actual character development part of the role play not having a whole lot of room to work with. And I got a piece of advice that was, why don't you can describe a setting in far less words, and save some of that for the other stuff. And I think maybe that's just good advice in general. It's trying to find that balance of how much introspection, how much exposition is necessary for your role play to be what you want it to be and to hit all three of these criteria that we're looking for.
Yeah, and another thing, real quick, is when you're given a limited amount of words, like you are in Triad with 2,000, it forces you to be extremely disciplined in the words that you choose to put in your final product. And so, if you write your role play and you go back and you look at it, it's 3,200 words, you got to cut 1,000 off there. Well, then you got to go through there and you got to decide which words, which sentences are essential and which aren't. And you got to remove the stuff that just isn't essential. to the point, the plot, the story, the promo. And you'll find there's a lot of stuff you put in there that sounds good, that's flowery or that you like or whatever, but it doesn't have any, there's no meat to it. It's just fat. It's just excess. And you get rid of the excess, and then just have a very focused, to the point, interesting, no wasted words, 2,250 word product. And you'll be surprised if you do this enough and get used to it, how much you can put into 2,250 words. You can get a lot in there. You just have to be very,
for sure.
very concise and very focused on which words you use and how quickly you get to the meat of the matter. So.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I mean, that was when we would do those 3K role plays for the pay-per-views, just at some point, because I got so used to the 2K when the 3K felt like a labor. But yeah, you can get a lot of stuff in there, and I know people are going to adapt. There's always a learning curve. Anytime you're someplace new and you have a different judge that maybe you're not used to, because it's highly likely that we could have taken those 12 role plays to a different Fed head and seen completely different results. Just because what they're looking for can vary from person to person. But I think, especially after doing it now as a collective group, the three of us, and seeing how very closely we had already had those things graded beforehand, I think the written rules that we do have on the boards are probably a strong indicator of how you can score well if that's your goal. If your goal is just to write what you like and have a good time in Triad, we're not gonna hate on you for that. But if you're looking for success, you're looking for wins, looking to rack those points up, I definitely suggest giving those rules a look over and taking feedback, like you said, into consideration. Don't change the good, because there was every single role play I could have found 90 to 95% good. We're just sitting down trying to nitpick on the 5% because somebody has to win. And that's kind of where my head was at the whole time. It was almost like not so much who won as it was who maybe didn't do as much, and that was the difference between 2 points and 1 point, or 1 point and 0 points, is just really getting down to the nitpick. And I really think that it's, like you said, it's probably going to get a lot worse as you guys improve on those areas. It's going to make it really hard for us to judge.
Yeah, and I want to echo that, and the fact that when you get some feds, they have multiple people grading role plays, and I don't know how it works because I've never really been a fan of that, because you never really learn what they're looking for, because one match you'll have these people grading it, and the next match you'll have another person grading it, and it just can get really confusing. But one thing I like, because you don't know how this is going to work out until you actually get into it. And then when we all got together, the three of us, and we discussed the role plays, we were pretty much 100% agreement on three matches. And we had one match where it was like, okay, no, all right, okay, yeah, okay, fine, okay, great, that's what we'll do. So, and it wasn't even really an argument. It was just more like, I don't get it. Well, I don't get it either. And then we just sort of went back and forth, and we agreed. And it didn't take long to agree on it. When you're talking about 12 role plays from 12 fantastic writers, all with very few errors in each one, and the fact that we were across the board, we were unanimous on 9 out of the 12. I mean, that goes to show that we are very like-minded in what we're looking for. So if you get feedback from us, you can pretty much be confident in that feedback's going to work with all three of us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Bobby, you're so quiet over there. You got anything to add?
No. I mean, just echoing what you guys were saying, and then I think because myself and Pick, like we RP'd in OCW for so long, and sort of knowing what sort of Will is looking for. I think that's also sort of why we're like sort of in agreement in sort of, like when we read the RPs and like, yeah, this is what we're looking for, because I feel like, like we 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 we've been writing a certain style for so long.
Yeah, yeah, and we all know that we prefer role plays where there's drugs in the sewer and void
Yeah,
talk
yeah,
over or wandering
yeah,
around
for sure,
a tornado
for
devastated
sure,
town. So.
for sure. Yeah, yeah. Okay, you know what? Like one
Uh-oh,
thing
he's
that
motivated now. Here we go.
Look out.
one thing that that is always weird is if like someone is just like talking to themselves, like
Yeah.
in the role play. So it's not even talking into the void. It's like, I don't know, maybe they're looking into a mirror and they're talking to themselves. Whatever. I don't know. I just feel like it's a little weird.
No, I agree. That long time ago, as you go through this or anything, you start to notice things in your writing where you think, well, that doesn't make a lot of sense. And I used to always do that where Mobley and Warwick would be at the grocery store. They would just be sitting there. So what do you think about the match? Oh, and I'm like, there's no fucking way anybody would talk like that in real life.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so you try to figure things out and you try to come up with ways to incorporate that. And the
yeah,
void
for
isn't
sure.
easy. The void, I never called it that until the last couple of months, but that is a safe way to do it. And
Yeah,
there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not going to count off. But when I talk about like allegory and things like that, the more creative you can fit in
yeah, for
the
sure.
promo
Definitely.
talk without it seeming corny or forced or
Yeah,
unrealistic, I mean, the higher the score. That to me is
definitely. For sure. For sure. I agree.
yeah, exactly. That to me is like that's what the great ones do, and it's hard to
Hmm.
do. I mean, it's hard for me to
It
do
is.
still.
It is.
Yeah, one thing too that I think, and this is maybe a personal preference, and you guys can talk about it if you want, but I've always been a proponent that your role play is the broadcast of your character to the world. And what I mean by that is, if Pick's getting shot at by the Somalians that are over here, trying to, kill him for retaliation or whatever, that's public knowledge. That's not
Hmm. Hmm.
that's not his personal life, and then he goes and hides in a dark room and turns a camera on and then cuts a promo. Um, and that the only thing that the people see is the promo. Like, to me, and it's not that that's the best way of doing it or the only way of doing it, but to me, and I think maybe the way you said, Will, as far as trying to figure out how to incorporate it into what's happening in the role play, but it's the always being in a room, turning a camera on and talking, or whatever the case might be. I think you're probably hitting more to what an actual wrestler would be doing, but
Mhm.
we're not looking for actual wrestlers, I don't think, in the EFED community. I think we're already in this world where we have to suspend a lot of disbelief when it comes to these characters. And yeah, they don't always need to have a gun pointed at their head or be jumping out of an airplane or something like that. But we want to see their entire life on display and not necessarily compartmentalized. At least that's my thought.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting, and I agree. I think one thing that always takes me out of a promo or just or I start to read and I think, oh man, is when they do something in the promo that you would see at a wrestling show, whether it be cutting an actual promo in front of a camera or stepping into a wrestling ring or work, and even and working out. That's kind of because they but any like to me there's the wrestling show with segments and promos and matches, and then there's your role plays, and I think the more you can kind of separate those two, and like an actual person would, like I don't know, AJ Styles. He would not be cutting a promo on a Monday, or well, he's on Raw. I don't know. He probably would on a Monday, but you know what I mean. When he's not at work, he's not going to be sitting in front of a camera cutting a promo at home. I mean, he's going to be doing his thing, living his life, going through the bullshit and the stuff that develops his personal character in life, whether it be family stuff, work stuff, what have you. And I think the more you can do that in a role play and save the promos and the actual pro wrestling stuff for the events, to me, the better.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, so like as you were talking, I was thinking, so really, this is like, like what's that show, like with the female, it's like divas or something, where it's
Yeah,
like,
Diva,
yeah,
Not Diva Search. Yeah, Total
no,
Divas.
yeah, or yeah, where it's basically like, yeah, it's like we're seeing everything that is outside of the wrestling ring, right? And then, the show is only going to be good and people aren't going to watch it when there's drama and there's conflict and there's resolution and there's
Mm.
something that's happening, right? So, yeah, no, totally. I mean, the more, yeah, it's like the more stuff that's out there, the more things that, you put in, make the reader want to know what's going to happen next or want to know how you're going to solve this conflict. It's like yeah, it's the better it's going to be. So,
Yeah. And real quick, I think what Pick said was really good, where he mentioned it doesn't have to be, a heist chase on a
yeah,
80 mile an
for
hour
sure.
moving train across a mountain. I mean, some of the best role plays I've ever read dealt with real life issues, whether it be divorce or custody over a kid, or just these, or having trouble, paying your bill. Just some of the ordinary stuff, the emotion and the way it's written and the way it impacts the character is paramount to. Well, I don't really understand my character and I don't really know how to tap into that emotion, so I'm gonna have him go fight a bunch of ninjas. It's like, oh god, okay, whatever, dude.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So Will loves drama. Pick
Give me
is
some
into
soap operas,
action.
baby.
Will is into drama and soap opera. Pick is into action,
And
and I'm
Bobby's
into
into Total
horror. So
Divas.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
there you
into horror and total divas. So there you go, y'all.
go.
That's good stuff, guys. Oh, hey, we got Lexi in the chat room, I see. Welcome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Had a few others kind of stopping in and saying, hey, what's up? So appreciate that. If anybody else has any comments in the chat
Question.
on YouTube or on the Discord, we can certainly talk about those if necessary. Oh, Alice
And
is on
if anybody,
Discord
on
talking about
Discord.
AJ Styles here.
There it is. Yeah. Also, if anybody has any questions they'd like to ask, now's the time. You can get a actual voice response rather than some text response or being left on red on Discord, if that is even a thing. Oh.
Yeah, so we can wait a minute and see if there's any questions. Really, the only other thing that we have on the agenda for tonight, I believe, is to run down the show that's coming up next week. So we'll sort of start thinking about that and kind of get ready to talk about that. But if there are any questions or comments, Knox just has the comment that is his comment.
That's my comment.
Now
yes.
he's going to chat up Lexi and try to
make another kid.
Find a new baby mama. Yeah.
I will say, I was talking with someone the other day, and I mentioned how much I've enjoyed working with Knox over the past couple of weeks. Not that I haven't enjoyed him previously, but he was in OCW for a very brief time, and I didn't get to know him that well. But we've chatted a lot here the last month or so, and I've enjoyed it. He's a fun guy, and he's got a good mind, very creative, and that goes for everybody, really. But since he's in the chat, show him some love. And I did say I would shout out Sahara, and I know how much Bobby loves that. So there we go.
No comment.
No comment.
Well, I'll say this about you. You brought up Knox while we're sort of waiting for a minute before we transition into this. That's one of the coolest things I think about the triad thing in general, because not speaking for you too, but for me, I thought we had a really cool idea, and I thought we had a cool execution of the idea, but you just always in the back of your mind, you're just like, is this actually going to hit with people? Will they actually care? Even with the draft aspect of things, like it just you just didn't know, are they going to buy into the team element and those kind of things? And I've been blown away almost every single character has been incredibly active in the Discord, in the separate team Discords that we have, on Twitter. I mean, the Twitter engagements back and forth between the different team members and then also opponents has just been like through the roof. I mean, I'm looking at usually I'm on the Triad Twitter far more than I am the Pix Twitter, and we're following like 1,600 accounts, and it seems like at least every fifth post has something to do with one of the Triad characters, and that's pretty crazy when you think of that many people or that many accounts that we're following, and we're consistently seeing our guys, really, honing in and taking ownership of this whole thing. And that's kind of motivated me, to stay on top of my game as far as making sure graphics are as good as they can be. If I need to pitch in with writing something, I'm in the process of writing the CD that gives the backstory of how the Bravery Triad actually got onto the ship to begin with. And those kind of things, I don't know if each person necessarily cares a whole lot about, but to me, anything we can do to build the myth behind what we're doing and create this world only seems to further motivate everyone. And so that's kind of the exciting thing for me is it's not just 12 people writing a role play by deadline day. It's 12 people actively engaged and really wanting to put their best foot forward. It might be a competitive thing. It might be a bragging rights kind of deal. But whatever it is, keep it up because it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I agree. And going back to kind of what you were speaking about, Knox mentioned earlier this week how quiet the teams have been, and he took it to mean shit's getting real now. And I'm thinking, yeah, you might be right. People might be getting really, after the first show, it was like fun, and now, okay, all right, here's the points, got to buckle down. And I do kind of get that vibe. It's going to be interesting to see the role plays this week. And what is it? Sunday night is the deadline. So yeah, you guys have about 5 days. So
Yeah. Hey, so before we get into the previewing the next week, should I just do the breaking news?
Yeah, do it. Let's hear it.
Okay. Cool. So earlier in the day, we had announced that Glum was replacing Helena Handbasket, but unfortunately, Helena Handbasket is back and replacing Glum. So the sad clown's out.
yeah, par for the course for Glum.
Yeah.
And to kind of talk about that a little bit. So it's not unfortunate that Helena is back by any means. In fact, Helena never left. It was a misunderstanding based off of a tweet that we had seen. And, with only, like Will said, with only 5 days till the deadline, we tried to quickly fill the role as best as we could and really didn't give that handler a chance to further elaborate on what that tweet meant. And so that's on us as a whole.
Yeah, for sure.
We sort of jumped the gun on that, and Glum, super good sport about it. Actually seemed somewhat relieved, but in true Glum fashion. Because they just weren't, prepared. This is kind of a last minute sort of thing to throw at somebody. So really appreciative of that character being willing to step in, but we're also glad that that Helena is able to kind of hang around and sure. That we didn't misinterpret because you never want. It did appear that that they were very upset about something, and we thought it was Fed related. Turns out it wasn't, and that's good and bad. Obviously, we don't like for real life stuff to dominate or to take away from the fun we have in here, but we certainly apologize for jumping the gun there. And we're still very excited that Helena is going to be with us and adding and building toward the storyline that we saw in the last show and whatever else might be coming her way.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm happy that Helena's sticking it out. I should say sticking out. Never intended to leave because I really like the character, and I really want to see him go through the entire trials and just see what they can do. Because I told Raven, I guess it was right after the last show, that everybody that goes through this is going to be a stronger rider and a stronger, e-fetter at its conclusion, because this is going to be extremely tough, and you're going to have to be very, very much on your game each and every match. And so you got to be focused, and you got to be disciplined. You have to really put in the work, and everybody who comes out of this is going to be sharpened, as iron sharpens iron or whatever. But yeah, and I really would hate to see anybody drop out, because it will just jack up the cohesion that everybody's got going with the stories and the matches, because each match, each interaction between each character should just continue to build and 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 to build until you get to that final event where you got all this stuff spilling over for this massive event, and then it could carry over to the next trials and so on and so forth. But to have people come in and out, it just disrupts that build. So I'm glad Helena is still a part of the trials. Really like that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Hey, and so for the record, when I reached out to Glum, his responses were ho hum, clown sigh, ho hum. So,
Glum's the best. Yeah, he's the best.
Definitely the most in character person that I've ever seen in this business, or just that miserable of a human. But either way, it's great stuff.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and sort of quantify that and say that he's the most intentionally in character person, because there's been some handlers that I don't think can separate who they are in and out of character. So, do we want to go over the standings real quick before we get into night 2?
Yeah, we could do that. Night 1 saw Team TLS take 2 points, with Vodka Black winning their match. And then unfortunately for Team TLS, the other 3 were unsuccessful.
All right. Fast forward to next week.
No, so yeah, that 2 points is it's there. They're on the board. Congratulations for that. That's a big deal.
We're playing defense right now.
Big deal for you to get some points. You're playing from behind like always, but whatever. Yeah. But anyway, so that was his team, and then we had Marcus Walsh's team come in second place with 4 points. They scored those points by Thaddeus Duke winning in his match, and then both Stratford and Sarah Wolf were able to survive without being pinned, and each received 1 point, which gave them the 4. And then in first place, there's this little team called Team Pick that is comprised of Kat Cortez, Matt Knox, Lachlan Kane, Penelope, and every single member of my team scored, just like Matt Knox on a random Tuesday night. So Kat Cortez and Knox both took home a win, and Lachlan and Penelope managed to survive their matches. So our top 4, and we do have top 4 at the moment, although some of you may remember or may know the way that this is going to work is we're going to be taking the top scorer from each team that will make it to the finals of the Bravery Trials. But as of now, we have a 4-way tie for first place, and that is with Vodka Black from Team TLS, Kat Cortez and Matt Knox from Team Pick, and then Thad Duke from Team MW.
Boo.
Well, all I have to say is that Team Welsh is going to, I'm not going to say come from behind. Well, we are going to rally and defeat. We're going to rally and defeat the lone soldier, and Team
the Lost Soldier. The Lost Soldier, bro. Come on, get it right.
Oh, I thought he said lone soldier. I don't know.
No, he said the Lost Soldier. Oh, well, no. Maybe he did say the lone soldier. Yeah, come on, man. You got to get these facts straight, man. We're on radio.
Yeah. Facts are for losers. Let's just talk out of our ass and see what happens.
PIC.
Easy now.
Yeah, and also one more thing about the standings is I'm really excited to see how they materialize after this week, and then the concept of the pay-per-view being 1, 3, and 5, the team totals, I think it's going to be a fight to the very end.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. It's really fun. This concept so far to me, I'm not the guy role playing and losing and winning, but as the guy looking, at it, from a Fed head perspective, it's very exciting. I'm having a great time with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and of course, our role players know this, but looking around, we had like 11 people in the chat. I'm not exactly sure who's in and who's not a part of this, but there is a team element because not only does the overall winner take home the bravery piece of the triad, and they secure their spot in the Great Illuminatus at the end of all of this, but the winning team also all get to take part in that event. And if you're in the event, then you have the opportunity to win the whole thing, because it matters to some degree if you win each of the trials. But at the end of the day, there's going to be one winner of the Great Illuminatus, and that winner is going to be the person who unifies the triad. So. So like the team aspect, like right now, obviously team picks in first place, but some of that has to do with it's week one. Some of it has to do with the draw that the competitors got. And so this week it's a completely different set of matches and a completely different potential set of outcomes. So really excited to see what happens as we move into week number 2 of the Bravery Trials.
Yeah, and real quick, just some motivation for maybe someone who might be struggling in the trials. If your team wins and you are dead last on that team, you basically get rewarded almost as much as the person that wins the whole thing, because you get to go into the match at their end, and then you can get into that match and you can win the whole thing. So yeah, I mean, you're in this thing to the very end, whether you're at the very top of the standings or dead last on your team. If your team wins this thing, you have a ticket to the final event, which is what everybody's striving to get. So
Yeah, definitely. For sure.
So don't lose faith. Don't get discouraged. Keep fighting. Keep fighting. Keep fighting.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so with that said, let's jump into this week. So our opening match, if we go and take a look, this is, by the way, it's going to be taking place in Puerto Rico. And Will, do you want to give us a little bit of a breakdown as to the locations in Puerto Rico that each match will be taking place?
Sure. I would love nothing more than to do that. Yes, Puerto Rico. And rather than just say, hey, we're in Puerto Rico, I decided to look up some cities that would, be good sites to host it. And what I did was I Googled, biggest cities in Puerto Rico. And this one popped up called Aguadilla, and I thought it just sounded cool. So I looked further into Aguadilla, and turns out it's got some unique locations. So that's why it is. And it's it's on the beach, it's sort of like geographically makes sense with the triangle. It's not on the other side of the island, it's on that side that is in the triangle. And like I was saying earlier, in an effort to keep the matches from feeling too similar, I thought about, okay, let's do different locations, and I was nervous about that, because for me, when it comes to storytelling, like whether it's a match or an event or the way Triad is set up, to me it's a build. 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 And you should just go balls out at the final event. You don't want to have your second event to be fucking ridiculous, and then the other events can't catch up to that. It wants to build. So I was concerned that if I pick these other locations, it might be too much too soon. But in the writing, you'll keep it from getting too crazy, hopefully. So I picked these unique locations, researched the city, and I found this really cool looking ancient ruins of this old lighthouse. So that will be match 1. Will be at the lighthouse, which is right on the beach. And then match 2 will be at Town Square. It's got this, it's a square. It's Town Square. They put the ring there and they compete and people watching it. And then the next one will be at this cool looking residential living area where all these homes are up on these tiers, and they're colorful and real vibrant. And the ring will be at the base of it to where they can all look down, and then you have the match there. And then the final event or final match will be a Puerto Rican street fight, which will just be these 3 crazy competitors, Pinkston, Knox, and Raven, just fighting all throughout the city of Puerto Rico. And where will they start? Where will they end up? we'll find out. And so that's sort of the idea. Haven't started writing anything yet. I was going to do that tonight. I probably should do it tonight, actually. But yeah, I'm going to get on it soon, and yeah, it'll be fun to see what happens. So that's sort of the layout of the event. So.
Awesome. And so the first match that we have is we're looking at Helena Handbasket, who we just got done talking about, is still part of the triad and never intended not to be. And they'll be taking on the team, or not the team, but the other two members, which are Thaddeus Duke and Kat Cortez, both of which are coming off of a win from last week. So really, like, I would, if I said this was going to be a crazy, super competitive match, then I'd basically just be saying the same thing 4 times, because every single time we have one of these matches, they are just, incredibly talented handlers, really, setting the tone for everything. But in this particular match, what's kind of interesting, I think, is it's Helena coming off of what was easily the most emotional moment in the first show, where the character dove in front of Matt Knox, their father, and took the chair shot to the head, saving him, being the most brave of the bravery trial participants, and being rewarded with Matt Knox pinning them. And so we have this dynamic of, Knox feels that this was him saving his child from eating more pain and punishment by ending the match as quickly as possible. And we have the child that just disagrees completely. And so we have a really motivated character here to go up against these two that are coming off a win. Thad's role play was incredibly strong last week. Kat Cortez equally strong. So it's going to be a pretty challenging match. I mean, what are you guys' thoughts?
Well, the first thing that pops out to me when I look at it from a match writer's perspective is you've got face, 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 and all three are, for more or less, they can move around. They're quick, they're fast. Kat Cortez is an extreme high flyer. So it's going to be a very upbeat, fast-paced, intense match with the crowd just going wild for everything. So that's the way I look at it. It'll be great. So yeah. Bobby.
Yo.
What are your thoughts on the opening match?
No, I mean, yeah, like it sucks to say, but I think that yeah, I mean, like the other two competitors coming out of a win, so my teammate or the person on my team is sort of the underdog in this match for sure. But I mean, like, they have the talent to beat these guys on any given day. So yeah, I mean, I'm just excited to see what they come up with.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's kind of neat to see, Will's thought as far as like the match writer, because he's already thinking about the characters and how those characters will act, in a ring or in a fight scenario. But I'm looking at it as, what are the storylines that are going to be, coming into play. I mean, we saw Thad, the post-apocalyptic world, so to speak, kind of role play that his I think it's his son is involved in, and what does that look like? And then we have Kat Cortez, who went for the Ark, Raiders of the Lost Ark kind of storyline, Indiana Jones with the shoes, and so just kind of like they're all doing a different thing here, and just really interesting. Want those stories. I think maybe. When we talked about some of the stronger CDs that we read, these are 3 of them for sure. And they have an opportunity to really build off of that. So that's going to be exciting. It's going to be a good match.
Agreed, 100%.
So then we have in our second match of the night, we have Vodka Black, who is coming off of a win, going against Sarah Wolf, who is a fight showrunner with Vodka. The whole Arcadia thing, they were behind that. And then we have Penelope, who is the Splat Calamity Chamber winner, and coming off of both Wolf and Penelope are coming off of not being pinned. So everyone in this match has at least 1 point, and it's the only all-female character match that we have for the show. So could make for some interesting storylines and spots and whatnot during the match. What do you guys think?
Well, this one's going to be at Times Square, so it'll be more of a. This one to me won't be as crazy as the first match, but there will be more psychology in it. Not to say there won't be any in the first match, but you know what I mean. You've got Vodka and Sarah, who have a lot of history together. If you go back and you read a lot of Vodka's work or Sarah's work or Stratford's work, they're all just interwoven and very complex. Like, I mean, there's a huge backstory between these characters. So that will come into play in the match. Will they work together? Will it be like a Knox Helena situation? And then you've got Penelope, who will be soul intact. And we saw what she was like when her soul was free and clear. Just a complete freaking monster. And will Sarah and Vodka try to stymie that? If they do, will they be able to? Or will Penelope just run all over them? And it'll just be a really fun match to write from that perspective. And that's sort of the way I'm going to take it. So that's my thoughts on it.
Yeah, so you guys know how much I love female wrestlers, but
oh yeah, man.
but I think that with all the things that you mentioned, Will, like this match might probably steal the show. I mean, just with all the with all the history and all the things that come into play, like as you're writing the match. I mean, I think this one's going to be a banger.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think as far as the role plays themselves, has the potential to be one of those where maybe we're not at least at the very one set in agreement all the way across. I think each of them brings such a different dynamic. Penelope was really strong on the CD department last time out. You had Sarah Wolf, who was really well-rounded, I think, but I think the promo was probably the least of the three. I could be wrong. I don't really remember, but it was kind of back and forth at least there. And then you had Vodka, who was just kind of strong in each area. So you have this potential for we could have a little bit of dissension here, but based off of what we saw before. But they all have such potential to just blow it out of the water that I think it could be the most competitive of the night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
I was of the 12 role plays from the first night, Sarah's impressed me the most, just because from what I read with the sample versus what they put down for the night one match, their CD work was extremely impressive. The promo, a little light, but Sarah Wolf is someone that I personally think is going to be. I mean, if they up the promo a little bit, Sarah Wolf's going to be extremely difficult to beat.
Yeah, for sure. I agree 100%. And I think that's kind of the thing with everyone. If there's just the difference between taking a pin and winning is just so slight. And if we see even just some moderate changes, I think there's going to be a lot of different outcomes potentially. So that brings us to the third match of the night, which is America trying to rebound from a loss in the first show, taking on Steven Stratford and Lachlan Kane, who, again, each were able to survive their matches by not getting pinned. So we've got three people, none of which actually won their match, but we have two of them that were able to just squeak out a point for each of their teams. And we've got America, who is, if I'm not mistaken, about to roleplay for the second time ever as this character. So it's a really new character. They're feeling some things out, and got a lot of potential there. Just kind of excited to see what where they explore, where they go from here. But you've got Stratford, who is just a well-known commodity in the community, and Lachlan Kane, who I didn't know much about heading into this, but been very impressed so far.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of the 3 matches, or of the 4 matches, excuse me, this is the only one that I don't really have a clear vision on in terms of where I want it to at least start. So I will probably start on this one last. What I will do is I will wait and read the promos to kind of give me an idea of where I want to go with it. This match will take place at the base of those residential buildings that look down those colorful little boxes or whatever. And none of them. This is the only match I think on the show where you don't have a winner from night 1. So they're all 3 looking to get a win. America, I believe their mentor is maybe gonna make an appearance at this match, so that will add to their character. Stratford, very fascinated to see what they put down and how they'll be portrayed in the match. And Kane is as white meat babyface as it gets. So Stratford once again is in a match with 2 fan favorites, and it'll be interesting to see if he tries to do the same things that he did with Knox and Helena, or if he just takes it straight up and just tries to take them both out. So yeah, this is a match that I will wait on and read some promos. Well, I mean, I can't wait too long, but to try to get a feel for where I want to go with it. So.
Excellent. Bobby, you have anything you want to add before we go on?
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing that's going to be interesting, right? Is because this is America's IC, second ever match, right? And it's not, it's not in a traditional wrestling arena or whatever. So he's going to be out. America's going to win.
Oh my God! Get the fuck out of here! No offense, America. My bad. My bad, America. You got a chance.
Make America great again.
Yeah. Oh Jesus. Here we go. All right. Show's canceled.
Oh boy. So with that said, let's move into the main event. Last match on the card, obviously. We have 2 gentlemen who are looking for the first win, with Elsie Pinkston and Alexander Raven, taking on the Knox family patriarch, Matt Knox, who did emerge victorious again, as we said, by pinning his own child in somewhat controversial fashion. It's definitely something that storyline-wise is going to be intriguing. Also, we didn't really mention it, but we have Stratford over there, who was responsible for hitting Helena with that chair, and we don't know what kind of retribution Knox may have for him. So a lot of different storyline elements that could really come into play here. But you've got, Raven, kind of really thirsty, another younger person, maybe not so well known in the game. You got Elsie Pinkston, who's a more of a veteran as it comes to that. And then, of course, you have Knox, who's pretty well known everywhere. So it's going to be a Puerto Rican street fight. And Will, you may want to talk a little bit more about what that's going to look like.
Sure. I've already got the beginning of this match in my head. I just got to get it down on paper. I think it'll be fun. With something like this, you want to be careful to not make it too much, right? Because I've got some ideas, and I had an idea pitched to me by one of the participants, and I thought, yeah, that's cool. But you gotta. There's a fine line between it being a cool spot and fun versus being okay. This is kind of ridiculous, So, so I'm gonna have to, really try to make sure that I keep it within the realm of, somewhat, reality or whatever. They're gonna start off somewhere in Puerto Rico and they're gonna fight, and they might go to different locations. We'll see. And this is interesting because it's the only match where you have 2 competitors who have 0 points and then their opponent 1. So if a LCP or a Alexander Raven can get the win, then they could, and then if they pin Knox in the process, they're suddenly tied with Knox after having got 0 points and Knox getting 2 points and Knox being the favorite after week 1. So, I mean, a lot of shifting can happen in a match like this. I expect LCP and Raven to be to be two of the ones that make the biggest leap in terms of giving us what we're looking for from week 1 to week 2.
Yeah.
So they're going to be tough, and they're both very talented. I mean, obviously Pinkston, we know, and then Raven, if you read his work, yeah. So yeah, it's going to be fun. It's going to be a brawl, and you know, Bobby, how these street fights go. You remember the one we did at the in Key West, the pub crawl brawl, which was wild between TIO and Vargas. It'll be along those lines where there won't be any ring, there won't be any boundaries. They'll just be brawling in and out of buildings, along the streets, into cars, over. You know, it's just going to be wild, and it'll be fun, and we'll have a good time with it. So.
Yeah, and so you know, I think Knox is at a disadvantage in this match because there's a lot of fine women in Puerto Rico on the street, dancing on the street. If you've ever seen that music video with Luis Fonse and Justin Bieber, right? You know, where they're dancing in the streets of Puerto Rico. So, you know, Knox.
I don't know, man. I don't watch Justin Bieber music videos, dude. So.
Hey, Pick was the one who
they come on after Total Divas.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, I have a friend who's a cop, and he went down to Puerto Rico for the hurricane relief, and to this day, he still tells me stories about the women down there. So apparently, they are attractive, and they like American men, apparently. So
yeah, hey, you know,
Bobby's out of luck.
There you go. Yeah,
you'll be fine. So you got any more, Bobby? Bad for that one?
LCP is gonna win this one too. So
clean.
You know what I mean?
You sound like me on Twitter, man.
Yeah, incredibly shocked by those predictions.
Yes.
Clean sweep for Team TLS, apparently.
Oh, you know what? If it's not a clean sweep this week, then we know the other two Fed heads are losers. So it is what it is.
Yeah.
All right, it's like that. Okay. All right. I see how it is. Well, we'll see how it goes in that grading room when the two of us have 2 votes to your 1. So.
All right. Well, with that being said, that is the end of the show that we have for this coming week. So it's going to be exciting. We're looking forward to. I don't think anybody has posted just yet, but like Will said, we do have about five-ish days until the deadline. So we know that e-fedders are usually notorious for procrastinating. So we're looking forward to those. Hopefully, getting posted here in the next few days, so we can start to read and really. Get our thoughts in place as far as who the winners are. So good luck to everybody. Really excited about this show. And then, of course, believe it or not, it's, once we get through this one, we're halfway through the preliminary rounds. We'll have 2 more shows after this that will take place in Bermuda. And then after that, the somewhere in the Devil's Triangle. There will be a show on a ship of some kind, and then, of course, we have the finale where if we can raise that ghost ship where the Triad is actually located, we'll have that show there, and that's going to be just a crazy, just nuts kind of thing going on there. And with the point system as it is, it's still very much any team's game. We're super excited about that. Looking forward to see what we can do between now and then. So, with that said, you guys have anything else you want to talk about?
I just want to, reiterate. You've got till Sunday at midnight Central to get your role plays up. So I'm sure most of you already started, but if you've felt like, like I have, where, I got all this time, and then you're like, oh shit, it's already a week until the next show. Get on it, because you got till Sunday at midnight, and as you know, deadlines, it'll get here fast. So, and if you want to send any segments or any strategies or anything like that for the show, please get those in as soon as possible, because I am going to start typing those matches, if not tonight, tomorrow for sure. And as you know, with any writer, I hate to go back and edit and rewrite shit because somebody got me something late. So if you got anything you want in the show for your character, get it to me as soon as possible.
Yeah, and as a maybe like a last plug, let me just say that we are open for applications for the strength trials. I know that kind of right in the middle of bravery, you may not be thinking about that just yet, but on our forums, we do have the bio application area there, and you're certainly welcome at any point to hop on there and take part in this. So maybe you have a lot going on right now, but that thing's not going to start till October 31st, actually. So you got plenty of time to clear some stuff off your schedule if you want. So if that's you, if you're interested in taking part in Triad, we're going to Angkor Wat. And if you don't know anything about that, take a moment and hit Google up. It's a pretty cool looking area. And we're going to test your mental strength to its capacity when we go to those. So, going to be a really awesome experience, I think.
And Bobby, you got anything to throw in there at the very end here?
No, I'm good.
He's good.
He's good.
All right, I'm good too.
All right, so thanks again for you guys coming on and just sharing a little bit about our thought processes, and hopefully you've enjoyed this. If you did not enjoy something that was said, just keep in mind Bobby actually wrote the script for the whole thing, and all the thoughts and opinions that you don't like were his and his only.
Yep.
So hit him up at TLS is alive on Twitter. He really enjoys Twitter banter. He's a big fan of that, so take advantage of that.
Yes, exactly.
We'll see you guys next time.